episode of Tech Tuesday. My guest today, Michelle Raymond, comes from is beaming in from thousands and thousands of miles away. She is the self-proclaimed company page queen, and I am absolutely in love with that. So we are going to have a great conversation. You guys are going to learn so much, but first, this. Hey guys, Steve Moran here. So Michelle, I have to tell you, as I was researching you, there's so much stuff I want to talk to you about that I'm going to skip over. I mean, things like your mom's wisdom: if you hang out with garbage, you will smell like it. I love that. I need to teach that to my grandkids. Your origin story that ends in a very dramatic, catastrophic way. Your passion for this big idea of community over competition. Your first concert experience. I actually went and listened to your favorite song. I had to be in the groove. What is it? What's the Dress for Success, right? And of course, your conversation about taking care of yourself and how when you don't, it can take 10 hours to do 15 minutes of work. I probably won't hit any of that. It breaks my heart. If we had like 3 hours, it'd be great, but we only have 30 seconds. So here's my first question. You have built your entire brand on being the company page queen, championing the one thing LinkedIn that seems to make no sense on LinkedIn, that everybody hates, that doesn't seem to get engagement. It doesn't seem to work. It's people don't follow it. People don't watch it. The numbers are terrible. Explain this to me.
Yeah, that makes me either a sadist or a genius. And it depends on the day when you ask me. But company pages for me, Steve, it started 5 years ago. My background was working for other people. And then one day I had to quit my job. And I woke up the next day and my partner said, "You're not working for anybody else. You're going to set up a business for us and work just as hard. And it will be a success." And I was like, "What will that be?" And it turns out, in the story that I was going to teach the industry I'd come from how to use LinkedIn to grow their business, because I'd been doing it for 6 years at that point in the beauty industry. And what happened was I looked around at all the other LinkedIn trainers around the world, and I wanted to learn, how does a LinkedIn trainer show up on LinkedIn? And they were all talking about building your personal brand. I was like, what about company pages? Like, you can't just ignore 50% of the platform, because I had just literally taken all of my connections and followers as an individual, changed companies. Ta-da, the company I left behind now has nothing. And so it started from there. And then I realized when no one else is talking about your topic, it can feel lonely and intimidating. But here's the bonus. It also means that you have a clear lane and you can own it. So I said about owning the company page space. I went up against all of the naysayers that would say they're a waste of time. Why do you bother? Just build your personal brand. And what do you know? I just grew my business faster, ended up on international stages speaking about the topic, and just really found my way to stand out. So whether company pages are your thing or not, it's really important lesson on LinkedIn to find out what is the thing that makes you stand out in your industry.
So we are completely schizophrenic about it. I've got a little over 30,000 followers on my personal page. We've got, 16,500 on our company page. We're obviously broadcasting this on our company page. And yet it is the most frustrating thing in the world. It's become really critical for me because I recently sold a senior living foresight to another company. And because I'm old And one of these days, I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. And so I'm trying to figure out how to transfer. And I'm sort of I am the brand in many respects. And so the company page seems like the logical place to make that work. And I'm at a complete loss. And really, most experts, as I understand it, say don't bother with company pages. It's a waste of time. It doesn't work. They think that LinkedIn doesn't even care about them. Are they wrong about reach, or is there maybe I don't understand what company pages are really for?
Yeah, look, I get where people are coming from. And, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. LinkedIn is a platform that continues to grow. We're at 1.3 billion members. And I saw recently there's like 70 or 90 million company pages out there. Now, we've only got one home feed and we're all competing for space. We all want our content to be seen. So I always say with LinkedIn, follow the money. So how does this work? Well, LinkedIn need us as members to log on every week and start scrolling. So their goal is to get us on there as individuals and scroll so we watch ads. So that's why personal content gets the priority in the home feed. So as you scroll, you'll probably see 4 or 5 personal posts. And then what comes next in their priorities? Of course, the paid ads. That's where they're making billions of dollars every year because companies and now individuals can pay to get their content seen by more people. So as we keep coming down that food chain, now we're at company page content, which is in LinkedIn's eyes, probably the content format and, through company pages, the one that's all the way down the bottom of their list. Because why? Well, there's too much content that's already going out under personal and ads, and the leftover space goes to company pages. So company pages can be a bit of a problem if you're relying on them solely to get your business recognized. Now, the easiest answer for people, Steve, is often just build your personal brand. But I love the case study that you've just shared. You're the exact reason why I say to people, build both. Now, depending how big your company is or how much resources you have to dedicate to LinkedIn, you need to assess where is the best use of your time. Now, if you have a plan to sell your business like you have recently, then making sure that company page is built up like an asset that you can transfer to someone else really has a lot of value. On the flip side, if you're somebody that is not looking to sell your business or have employees, just focusing on your personal brand for the majority and having your company page tick over can often be a better use of your time. So there's never a one size fits all, but there is certainly a place for company pages for a reason that most people don't think about. It's all well and good to measure company page success based on the number of impressions, so the sets of eyes that see your content. But what happens, Steve, if someone goes onto Google, tap, 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 types in your business name, because they've come across your content, they're doing a bit more research, your website typically comes up in the first results, and then your LinkedIn company page will be just underneath that. Now, of course, the people will go to your website and it's going to say amazing stuff, but most people trust LinkedIn and want to find out more info. So they'll click on your LinkedIn company page, come across, and the question is, do they get the roll out the red carpet experience, or is it tumbleweeds? And they're wondering, is your business still open? So there's a case for both. Keep them ticking over, but don't just think it's all about LinkedIn.
Okay, so let's talk about what the roll out the red carpet experience is. And I'm going to start by saying that we put a lot of LinkedIn's our primary social platforms. We spend a lot of time there. And I look at a lot of company pages, and I sort of find two things. One is where people hardly post at all. They don't seem to care. They don't seem to work on it, or they post all the time, but all they're posting is what's effectively advertisements, and they're uninteresting and they're boring. So there's got to be a better way. What does that roll out the red carpet experience look like?
Oh, there is a better way, Steve. There is absolutely a better way. And I'm out and on a mission to try and stop company pages from being boring or being that self-promotional stuff that, honestly, I don't think it ever worked. It certainly doesn't work in 2025 going into 2026. And the reason being is I think that when people are on social media today, they're looking for answers. They're looking for ways that they can make confident buying decisions. So, how do you help the people on the other side be okay with the fact that they're going to reach out and spend money with your company in whatever kind of company that you actually have? But how do you build that trust and credibility? Now, trust and credibility doesn't come from talking about yourself and your own business. It actually comes from how can you create content that is in service of your audience, the people that you want to buy from you. Are you the most helpful? And this is, I'm just going to put this on record right now because I think I have to say it. It's okay to have fun on LinkedIn, right? I understand that buyers are often C-suites, they're directors, they can be high up, they've got a lot of experience, could even be an age group thing, depending what industry that you're in. But ultimately, they're just humans at the end of the day. And a lot of content that comes out on company pages is so busy being professional that it would put most human beings to sleep. And even worse, we just scroll past. So we have to figure out ways, how do we get people's attention? And if I've got a choice between a boring company page post that looks like an ad and smells like an ad and for all intents and purposes practically is, versus a human post from an individual that talks to my problems and is in service, I'm going to pick that content every day of the week. Now, that's not to say you can't talk about what you do in your business. You absolutely can. Like, this is not a part where we're not allowed to talk about what we do, but there's so many interesting ways that we can tell the stories of the business, highlight our staff, and make it really interesting. What can I find out if I go to your website? And so when I say roll out the red carpet, it can be things like making sure the banner on your company page is like your billboard. Is it obvious to the person who lands there what you do, who you do it for, and what makes you different? Or is it just something you threw up there years ago and haven't ever given any thought to? And the same goes with your tagline and your about section. I, often urge people that have a company page, go back with a fresh set of eyes, take a look, and you could do this with yours too, Steve, and have a look and go, is that still where we're at right now? Is that what I want people to take away about my business? And most often the answer is, yeah, no, not really. And I say, the best test, would you read it? Would you continue to read it? And if the answer is no, you know the work that's to be done.
So I got to say, Jada, who's producing in the background, you need to make a note for us that we need to go back and take a look at that and talk about that, because I don't know that we have in a long time. I mean, these things that are sort of static, right? You write them once, you put them up there once, and you just don't think about them again. And it's funny, as you were talking, I've been to a bunch of trade shows in the last few weeks, and it's sort of the same thing when you walk by booths, right? You walk by a booth that they've spent a lot of money on, and you have no idea what they do. And it just drives crazy. Okay, so one of the things I want to ask about, so you're on this LinkedIn Small Business Advisory Council, which means that you get to look at stuff early and test stuff. Before I actually get to my real question, the first thing is it fun or frustrating?
Well, sorry, I missed the end of that question.
Okay.
Could you
Is it
for
fun or frustrating to be on that council?
Yes, is the simple answer, because there are things that I would love LinkedIn to do as a user. And then at the end of the day, LinkedIn are responsible to their shareholders first and foremost. So they're all about making money. And we've seen that monumental shift this year, and it really has become a pay to play platform. Or the best part of where LinkedIn hasn't been like that, whereas, Facebook and Instagram, they've been doing it for, 10, 15 years easily. So LinkedIn's finally caught up to, oh, we should be making more money off this platform. Now, I get it from their perspective, and that's great. But as a user, I have a whole set of other experiences and things that would make my life easier. So there's often a disconnect between what they want and what we want. And some of the features that they release, I'm like, why did you bother with that? Or it's something obscure that I've given them feedback and they think it's a really amazing idea. And other times when I give that feedback, they sit there with this kind of look where their head tilts and, eyes and you can see the thoughts ticking over. So I got to spend some time with the LinkedIn engineering team for company pages. I got to present to them and they got to ask me all kinds of questions. And what they didn't realize, and they're not immune to this. So I want you to listen. It's easy to pile on LinkedIn, but just check if it's happening in your business too, is that we often think about our own goals and our own business and want to talk about that so much and spend very little time understanding what are our customer goals and doing that customer research. What are the biggest challenge that they've got? When you spend more time understanding that, then you can create better content, which has better results, and you build communities faster and that trust and credibility that I was talking about. But quite often businesses say the whole point of posting on social is, almost to talk about ourselves. And again, it's just a snooze fest. So it's easy for me to say, oh, LinkedIn doesn't get this right. But ultimately, I always think, well, how can I do better in my business? When was the last time I asked a marketer that I typically deal with, what's life like for them right now? Like the world's definitely shifted. There's something it's all kinds of crazy everywhere. But what's it really like for someone on the other side? And I think when you have the empathy and the understanding of people, you have a real opportunity to connect with them. And that's possibly where I focus more of my time and attention these days, because I realize the features and functions, they can't help us if we try and skip over that step. So going back to those foundations of understanding our audience more than worrying about what's going on with LinkedIn is probably the lesson. As I talk about this, it's a reminder to me just as much.
Well, and what I actually, maybe this will sound really weird to you and to the audience, but LinkedIn is a marvelous platform. It's really helped us grow in amazing ways, and for a long time I didn't pay any money at all to do that. So I guess maybe the first question I've actually got, but let me finish what I was going to say, and then I'll ask the question. Maybe we ought to spend a little time and say, how can we actually help LinkedIn make more, as a user, how do I actually help LinkedIn make more money, right? And it sounds a little weird, but I actually think there's something to that. So I don't know. So what about paid? What about, I've got a personal paid account. Should I be paying for my company page account as well? And what's that get me?
Yeah, look, there's lots of options for individuals to now pay for different features. And if you'd asked me 12 months ago, Steve, should an individual pay for Premium or Sales Navigator, it would have been a hard no from me. Shut down, just use the free account. There really wasn't much difference that justified the spend between free and the premium level. LinkedIn wised up to that back in January, roughly. And basically now there's a lot of kind of features sneaking into premium and a lot of features being taken out of that free account. Now, if you're someone that only logs on from time to time and you're not active, stick with the free account until you find something that frustrates you and that, you want to then go and have a look at, the premium options. Sales Navigator is not something I ever recommend to anybody pretty much. It's a powerful tool, but not the right tool for probably 99% of LinkedIn users. So if we look at it, is premium worth it on an individual account? I would probably say yes these days. If you're active on the platform and trying to leverage it to grow your business, if you are thinking about, is therefore LinkedIn Premium for company pages worth it? Well, here's the thing. For some businesses, I think here in Australia, it costs us about 150 Aussie dollars. So let's call that 100 US dollars a month. For some businesses, that's like chump change that no one's even going to blink if you spend that much. But for some other small businesses, that $100 a month could be better utilized elsewhere. And so I always say, do what you can for free. You won't get any more impressions. So it's not going to make your content be seen by more people. The only advantage on the company page one, it will help you grow the page faster, which is great if you have a goal for the page and it makes sense for your business. But we're starting to see things like companies can pay to promote individual posts, and now individuals can pay to boost their own posts as well. So I don't know that I particularly am a fan of us all being able to pay to get our posts seen by more people. Realistically, it's just a donation to LinkedIn that is going to be a way they're going to make so much more money. They are going to entice you every way that you look. But yeah, it's an interesting time for me as someone that helps businesses grow using LinkedIn. I've certainly questioned it a lot more lately than I ever have in the last 10 years because it has changed. And if we try and do things that we did last year, they're not working as well. So you're right. Follow the money and see what is it that LinkedIn loves. And there are things like LinkedIn live events, right? Because why do they love that? Why would they promote it? Well, because they've just recently released some new ad formats so businesses can pay to promote their events. So of course they want you to love, events. So it's kind of interesting, but yeah, follow the money trail to see what they're trying to promote. LinkedIn video in general is one of those things.
So, as you know, we do a lot of live streaming, and what let me start with a high level. So, I'd love to just the question really is this: what content works best? We know there are text posts, there are photos, there are live stream, there are short videos, there are polls. I know you've got something up real recently on polls, and we always have great engagement with polls. Can you just talk to me what works best from a is there a single post or a series that works better than others?
Yeah, so the probably a different question to ask is what kind of content does your audience relate best to and engage most with? And so what works for me in my business might be very different to what works for you and your audience. In general, is there any one kind of content that stands out and gets better performance? In 2025, absolutely not. But if I go back to 2021, if you did a LinkedIn poll on what's your favorite flavor of, soft drink or, like anything like that, it would just go crazy. It didn't have to be intelligent. It would just take off, hundreds of thousands of impressions. And then after that, we came about those carousel sliders, the PDF documents that people did, and they would go crazy. At the end of last year, it was LinkedIn video, short format videos because they had a new format and it was their favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
But this year, it's all been pretty even. So I always say, have a good mix because when you mix, if you think about your community and your audience that's out there, then everybody learns differently. So for me personally, I can never listen to podcasts, which is crazy when you think I have 2 podcasts that I do of my own. And, why would I invest so much of my time and energy into that when I don't like them? Well, easy, because a lot of my audience does like them. If it was up to me, I'd be writing long format newsletters because that's my favorite. I love to go deep. I love to just, give everyone everything that I've learned. I get excited by that. Some of my people in my community, they're like, oh my God, Michelle, I can think of nothing worse than reading a 7-minute newsletter. Yeah, I don't have time for that. Just give me the short bits. And other people love videos, especially the younger age group. So I always say to people, mix it up, see what works for your audience, check the analytics and see what's landing best. And then you'll get known for a certain thing because ultimately it has to be the post that you do. And one of the biggest problems that we have is most people have amazing ideas that stay in their head, never to see the light of day on LinkedIn. So the post that gets done is the perfect post.
I love that. A post that gets done is a perfect post. Okay, so I got to talk a little bit more about data. We go crazy. We do these live streams. Sort of typical for us after a week is 500 to 1,000 views, but about once a month, we have the views go crazy. I had one that we did 3 or 4 weeks ago that went to 5,000. We had another one that was a couple weeks earlier that went to 26,000 video views, and it makes no sense. I went back and I looked as I was prepping for this, and I thought, well, this one should have gone to 26. The one that went to 26, it wasn't bad, but it makes no sense. Can you help me understand this at all?
I think the way I can help is to know just some things take off, they're a blessing, enjoy them while they happen, and some things don't. And it just shows you that it's out of our control. And sometimes it's actually just to be in it to win it is probably the most important message. Because, like, I would say, even for myself, I am finding it super difficult. I used to be able to, with a high degree of confidence, know if I write this and post this, this will happen. I've been, like I said, writing content on LinkedIn for 10 years. it was really easy. I knew if I did a photo of myself was a little bit controversial, it might take off. And if I do like real thought leadership and give away all of my brains and my secrets and all the things that will help people, it falls flat, and
Yeah.
I would be like, why is this so? And sometimes it's just people. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw. And, that's just how life is on LinkedIn right now. It's a lot more unpredictable because they have a new technology behind the LinkedIn algorithm. Now, I don't like to always go into it too much because people get obsessed with trying to understand how this algorithm works now. But just know it's a new technology that's learning its way to give you a personalized and customized experience of LinkedIn. So my experience versus Steve's is going to be very different. And ultimately, it's learning as it goes. So just like our large language models like ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and all of that, they learn more about you. Think of the same thing on the LinkedIn algorithm. It's learning in real time. And some days it's just having a bad day while it's still at this beginning phase. And I hope, and actually, I don't just hope, I've noticed that it's improved over the last few months. And how can I tell that? Because I don't see as many of those old 2 or 3 week old posts that we were seeing there for a little while. So they said that would, eventually iron itself out. But yeah, there's lots of cool things out there. But sometimes it's just, don't worry about why it did or didn't. If there's no rhyme or reason, just keep showing up and just delivering for your audience, and yeah, take the wins when they come. And it's possibly not the answer that you wanted me to say, but the fact is, trying to figure this out right now, I don't know, it's like trying to stare at your navel, trying to figure out the meaning of life. I'm not sure that it helps us.
So, as I think about doing this, should I post content on both my company page and my personal page the same thing? Should I post it on my company page and reshare it to my personal page? How do I get my team members engaged in that? And I've got 2 team members who are on LinkedIn all the time, and I've got one who just doesn't care. And how does that all work?
Yeah, look, if in doubt, post it on your personal account. If the goal is to get your content seen by as many people as possible, the chances of it being seen by most people will be done on your personal account. Then becomes the question of, can you put it across onto your company page? Now, you can do it in several different ways. We can repost it as the company page, and it brings it across and shows, the post on the company page and helps support the original person. So that's great for employees and showing them that you've acknowledged that they've created content and you think it's worthwhile that it can, land over on the company page. So you can do things like that. There are other people that might be listening or watching this and realizing that they've got more resources available and they can actually put more content out on the company page. So if we're talking in numbers, if you've got a good team and a good process, 3 posts per week on your company page is probably more than enough for most of the people that are enjoying this conversation. From that side, if you're an individual, I would still say 3 times a week is a good number. Now, there will be people that be like, no way I'm doing 3 times. And there are people that be like, I'm posting 7 days a week. That's fine. But we come back to the post that gets done is perfect. So for some people, they'll be starting out listening to this. And some people have been doing it for a long time, like you and I, and it's much easier. But find what works for you and your business. But can you repost? Yes. Can I take my best performing personal post and post it as a post on my company page a few months down the track? Absolutely. Do it all the time. Best way to repurpose all of your content. So as long as you think about where is the best use of your time and what is your business goals for doing all of this, and then ultimately what are your customers after, then they're the kinds of questions that will naturally answer, where should I post this?
I like that a lot. And one of the things that's really interesting to me, it's been several years since this happened, but the best performing post I've ever had on my personal page was something that I shared that somebody else had posted, really without commentary. It was a very heart touching story at Christmas time. And I think it went to over 100,000 views. It was just crazy. And so I always think, well, sharing's not that good, but I think sharing has value. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's different ways, right? So we focus a lot on what keeps LinkedIn happy or what keeps the algorithm happy. But imagine what it feels like for one of your employees or someone in your community, or it could be a customer or a customer that you want to work with. And if you think about it, when you show up and support them by liking or reposting, then okay, so the algorithm may not reward you with big numbers, but I can promise you that that person noticed that you did that because not everyone's doing it. They clicked on their numbers and went, you were the only person that reposted it. What happens when they see your content next time? Well, as you know, as my grandmother says, what goes around comes around. So the more that you give and are generous to other people, that comes back at you. You know, we call it the law of reciprocity, which is too much of a mouthful for me to say. But I often think, you know, it's all when you come onto LinkedIn with like a giving and generosity mindset of helping others to achieve their goals, that's when the real magic happens. And that's the content that lands. And there'll be some people going, oh, I don't like how LinkedIn's gone too personal. This isn't Facebook is, you know, often the line that we use to describe that. The fact is right now, the platform is 65% Gen Z, right? So they're half my age, but they take up that much of the workforce as well. So they are really dominating what kinds of content are resonating. They want transparent content. They want authentic content. They don't like over polished design or, you know, going over the top and editing stuff. No, they're used to jumping on TikTok or, you know, YouTube and just grabbing the phone and talking to a, you know, really easily, no production value. And they trust that a lot more. So we have to be mindful. It's easier to say, oh, they're not my target audience because maybe they're not C-suite right now. I don't know, give them 5 years, they will be. So are you going to own the space now? Because if you wait 5 years, they've already decided who they like to work with. They're quite loyal. And once they worked with a company once, they stick with them for a lot longer.
Cool. Well, we're about out of time. I want to ask you one very quick question, and then I want to talk a little bit about how people find you and resources that you have. But here's my quick question. Can you post too much? We have a little bit of an internal struggle with this in my organization, and I see it differently than my social media experts. So I'd love to hear.
The question that you asked, can you post too much? I think there is a conversation behind it that goes, why am I posting that kind of quantity? Is it because I've just got so much content I want to repurpose and I'm doing it for myself because I've put effort into, say, this live stream, I can chop it up so easily today, and should I put it out there? And then it just comes back to, well, what are your goals and what does your audience expect? Now, sometimes the algorithm and LinkedIn will penalize you. So if you post the first one and you do another one in that same day, it kind of makes the first one disappear into the abyss and prioritizes the next one. And the second one doesn't work quite as well. Third one, not as much. So there is a bit of a, you know, a penalty that happens from that side. But the question then becomes, well, if I've got a company page and I've got my personal profile and I'm posting 7 days a week on both, is that a problem? No, I don't think so. If you can keep up with it, you're not burning yourself out, you actually enjoy it, your audience loves it, go for it. And I think that's why I would always say there's not really, you know, a rhyme or a reason. For some people, they never post content, but they're really great at sending direct messages and having conversations with people. Some people don't post content, but they are commenting prolifically on lots of other people's content. So never a one size fits all, but if you are comfortable doing it, go for it. I'd stick to probably one post a day max for most people out there. But again, this isn't a one size fits all, but just think about why we're doing it. If it's helping your audience on the other side get closer to their goals, yeah, maybe it works. But if it's just doing it just because you can, then it will feel like that to your audience on the other side.
Well, we are out of time. I have so many more questions I want to ask. We can't do that. But where do people find you? And I guess maybe I want to hit one thing sort of head on is people say, well, you're a long way away. Can I still work with you here in the US? And I assume the answer is yes, I found you. And you came to us by Brooke Salas. I do want to give her credit for doing the introduction there. So talk to us about the resources you have, how to find you, how people work with you.
Yeah, and shout out to Brooke Salas, who I always make her say howdy y'all, because y'all is my favorite US word that hasn't made it to Australian pop culture. So, yeah, so shout out to her. But you will find me on LinkedIn, no surprises, Michelle J. Raymond. Now, the J is in there to help you discover me because there's lots of other Michelle Raymonds. And let me know that you watched this and what you took away from this. I've got a podcast that I do and a YouTube channel that helps people, make more sense of LinkedIn, especially if you're looking to leverage it to grow your business. So come and check out the social media for B2B Growth Podcast. I have some books as well, which the details are on the screen, which you can check out. But ultimately, I just would love to connect with people, because I think that's the power of LinkedIn. You're right. I work with people all over the world. I think I'm up to about 24 different countries, which
That's
is
cool.
the mind-blowing opportunity that is LinkedIn. Is you can concentrate locally in your geography, or you can take over the world and do world domination. Like that's my goal, is to work with as many people as I can. So yeah, so as long as you are someone that is looking to leverage LinkedIn to grow your business, but you're not sure where to start, or there comes that, but you don't know, that's what I can help you with. So yeah, I would love to have a chat.
Thank you so much for joining me. You need to check out the work she's doing. If you're struggling and you want to make your company page work for you, you should reach out to Michelle. Thank you so much for watching. This has been a great conversation, and I'd love to hear from you about what you're doing with your LinkedIn page. Thanks so much.